Hello, Combination. My name is Subi Sadeh. I've spent over a decade in medical device, pharma, and combination product development. Our industry feels complicated sometimes. Drugs, devices, clinical trials, submissions, sterilization, validation, design control, risk management, market access, reimbursement. The list goes on. My goal is mastery, so this podcast is to ask questions I have to people who may have the answers. Each week on the Combinate podcast, I talk to someone about their area to further understand and simplify. Whether you're a pharma person trying to understand the next wave of products, or a device person trying to navigate a pharma system you're unfamiliar with, or a newbie in both areas, I invite you to listen, and together we can simplify by combinating.
If you look at the whole thing, one is medical industry and a pharmaceutical industry, two facets of two
Healthcare.
faces of the same healthcare, right? Now, if you look at patient safety, is all about sensor and generating the data and then analyzing the data and giving the treatment. Whereas pharmaceutical, you are injecting the drug into the body. So
At
there's
least from a combination product point of view, yeah.
from the combination protocol, where you have a medical device. It could be as silly as a simple injectable device, injection, but then there's a lot of safety that comes into picture. Number two, purity, potency, right? Those were not my challenges back in healthcare. The accuracy, your hardware is more important, electronics is more important, software is more important. But it's coming back to hospital or a pharmaceutical industry, I would say. It's more about patient safety at the heightened level, primarily because of the drug acting, right? So you're not worried just about the device, you're worried about how the drug is going to behave into the body. Number two, how do you even make the drug in such a pure fashion, and how do you maintain the potency of the drug, right? And all different 9 yards that come in the manufacturing, which I don't have to explain, which you're aware, are the critical features, right? It's always give this feel about you have an ant and you put a cap on it. That much of a process overload you get in a pharmaceutical industry, right? You need to go through a lot of process controls.
What about
Everything? Yeah.
because you're a program manager, right? Like you take it from here and you get it to there.
Yeah.
What did you find was different from medical device to far? Because you basically went from one of the, if not the biggest medical device manufacturer to one of the, if not the biggest pharma company. So you worked in the program management, the governances, the milestones, everything between both. Were there big differences, or was it all the same when you boil it up?
Let's start from the governance side, right? So the governance side, it is the same, but the extent to which it is governed is different.
What do you mean by
right?
that?
So let's talk about that for a second. In a healthcare, let's say medical devices, your software, hardware, you can go through a lot of these test cases, I would say. It's just my view, okay? That does not mean everybody answers this way, okay? I'm just answering you
Sure.
my point of view.
Yeah.
So my point of view here is that you've got a hardware and you've got a software. Hardware and software are pretty much with the known tool sets, you can really decipher the behavior of the outcome. Okay, you can really see it. Many of these, that is the main thing there. Then when it comes to governances, as long as you show that you've done all of those things, patient safety is about how good all those are, right? How good all those are. Nothing related to how the drug is going to act, whether this a side effect is okay, whether that side effect is not okay. From the risk management perspective, whole lot different. So when we write a risk documentation, and when a risk documentation is written for a medical device per se, is way different. When the drug is involved in a combination product, is way different than just the device is
Standalone.
involved in diagnostics or imaging. That does not mean I don't underestimate the work that the medical device needs to do. That is quite a bit. But the level at which, the depth at which we have to go here for risk is much, much higher, I would say. Because of that, the governance bodies look at it in a different way. So there are higher level of regulation, medical safety and risks come into picture in a pharmaceutical world than a healthcare industry.
And
Sorry, than a
then
medical
medical
device.
device. Are
Is
you?
that how it frame what I'm telling?
Yeah, yeah. But it sounds like you're saying that the reason for that is because you use the words test cases. When you're evaluating the devices early on, there's a lot more predictive
It's a
elements
bit more
and
effective than drug, I would say. Number one. Number two, these drugs, they start behaving at different temperature conditions, and then there are a lot of rules and regulations how a patient, how it is prepared, how it is delivered, after it delivered, how it behaves inside the body. And every person's body is not the same; it is different. So there's a lot of medical safety and regulation come into picture on top of QA, medical device quality, pharmaceutical quality. Sorry, I would say manufacturing quality. I had not known those different quality teams that are required until I joined pharmaceutical industry, I would say.
and you
So the
okay, so
higher,
you're saying it was and I do agree with that. I think yeah, it is a little bit. You're saying on the medical device side, you only had one or two stakeholders per function, whereas
so
on the
I
device
had
side,
more team, not many. You got, let's say, the manufacturing quality person is already there. Yes, here you got a device quality person sitting in there. But here's a medical device, just product quality person is here. Then you've got a pharmaceutical quality person is sitting at the corporate level. Then you've got somebody at the site also managing their own quality. There's an in-process quality person also there. There's a release quality, release testing we call. There's another
yeah.
quality person sitting there. So the levels are higher, which because of which there are multiple stakeholders. And they all, that was the biggest challenge. How do you then relate all the levels of regulatories, all the levels of manufacturing, what all I explained it here, starting from device to release of the product, right? Device manufacturing to release of the product, starting with all together on the top, the risk management, huge difference. Okay, between the medical device risk management and the scrutiny of risk management, plus with respect to pharmaceutical risk management, I would say. Hope that you are able to
Y-
appreciate it as well. You were there.
yeah, and you moved, you went big med device, then to big pharma, then to
Startup now.
startup now. Yeah, and what's that been like?
Yeah. Always you see other side is always green, right? When you go on the
Yeah.
other side, then you think it is not that high green. Yeah. So that stuff that was very easy for me is difficult. And that the stuff that is very difficult here is very easy. So what was that one thing? Money for project, right? I
Mm,
could I had a lot of leeway here. I was managing multi-million dollar projects as
yeah,
each and every project was 30 to 40 million, and I was managing two or three at any point in time. That was the money. And I could tap in within my own liberty to move around and
find
manage the
money
project,
elsewhere, find
make
resources
out
elsewhere.
deals. But whereas here, we have to be very cautious because there's only the money that comes in is only for development of the projects. So the money has to be very, not that it was treated incorrectly back in a big pharma, but I would say money was available that I could tap in. Whereas here, money is not that easily available that I have to work towards an utter need. Because otherwise, if it is not well utilized within the right amount of time, it can be used somewhere else and some better output can be done. That does not mean that is not a challenge. See, here in big companies like Pharma, we were making decisions for millions, 100 million, sorry, 300,000, 300 million, or 30 million. I mean, here, I'll be starting to make 3,000, 30,000, and 300,000, right? The range is way different. The second is I was working in one product or two product, three products. Everybody's a known, right? They have a known culture within whom you can work on. Whereas now we manage all 13 of the 20 large pharma companies. They all are different. And then we have different levels. Some of the C-suite, some of the managerial team, senior management, middle management, different groups of people that we need to work on. So I'm getting exposure, I would say, from all of these different pharmaceutical industries around and trying to understand how they all work. But now I know about other pharma companies to some extent. And then the devices, there was one device and the more challenges for pharmaceutical side, drug side I was more worried about. Here I don't worry about the drugs. Even though I do worry about the drug, I only get the parameters of the drug. I don't have to worry about it. I have to take those parameters and make a device out of it. Whereas, what are those parameters in the pharmaceutical industry that we were worried about? Characterization of
The
pharma
DP. Yeah.
product. Just two or three broad differences, I would say.
So before you were in the sponsor seat, now you're in the design partner seat. On the one hand, you're asking, on the other, and on the new hand, you're giving. What do you find makes, what have you learned now that you wish you knew when you were the one that was a sponsor?
Oh, yeah. See, the important distinction that I could drive is the complexity of a innovative design. Okay. So one is the design of a device per se. Yes, it's the design of a device, but how do you solve a challenging drug requirement that can be solved by a device? Okay. That doesn't mean pharmaceutical work the work that I did was not innovative enough. I wouldn't put it that way. But it was not really a drug challenge that required a device to address that. Does that make sense? So really looking at, okay, I was looking at the device that can be very easily used, but not necessarily the device is addressing any drug related challenges. So now coming on this side, I'm able to understand more, but I'm able to look at all these drug different challenges. Okay, all these drug characteristics. One of them, for example, is suspension drugs. How can you solve needle clogging, for example? Okay, that these suspension drugs cause. What are the solutions today that are available? I'm not sure when I was there. That was my priority to understand that because the drug that I was working on did not require that. So I did not think on that line. That helps you. So I was more focused on my drug product, what it needs, whether I have my one device, am I developing myself or am I going out to do that? But now what is happening here is now I'm knowing more of other type of drugs from all these different industries, pharmaceutical industries. There are different trends that are going on, and we being injectable devices, I'm getting to know all these industry trends. Then we either have a solution or we can come up with a solution or we can upgrade our existing solution. We can come together or together a new solution because some of our customers are looking for those kind of altogether new solution. Sometimes I have an existing solution that I can simply say, here, look, let's say, for example, I do not need, let's say, glue, because glue comes in the contact with a drug product during its usage and things like that or something like that, right? We don't use glue, for example. So we can immediately give our portfolio at matches. In some cases, we just need to modify an existing device to suit the customer needs. So I'm able to do certain things that I did not do. At the same time, able to understand the industry trends and then create a new offering to customers.
In terms of those trends, now you're focused on the, like the point that you were making of saying, I have a drug that I need delivered. It can be in a new syringe or preferably not, or I can hopefully find something that's off the shelf, but I'm just concerned with this one drug or this family of drugs and just getting it out of the primary container in a way that doesn't involve a separate syringe and a vial, right? Now you're looking at it from the perspective of I have a platform, a delivery platform, and that delivery platform needs to address just your run-of-the-mill drug, your suspensions, maybe elements of reconstitution, different all the different forms drug product can come in. And that comes issues like needle clogging you mentioned. But what trends are you seeing in the injection space since you're totally focused on that part now?
Yeah, good segue into the primary goal of how we want to help the industry.
Yeah.
The first thing that I see, but not necessarily in any order that I would mention it to you.
Yeah.
One thing is administration at home. Many of the drugs are moving from formal healthcare setting to administration at home. Okay, so that is one trend we see. The
Is
pharmacy
that sorry, before you move on, is that a real trend? Because I remember I did a project with a manufacturer when I was doing my senior design project years and years ago. And the people that were introducing us to the prompt, they were saying back then, more than 10 years ago, this is a trend that we're seeing. And so is it something that is a trend? Are you seeing certain drugs actually switch from hospital use? This drug used to be taken at the hospital, now it's at home?
could be possible, yes.
Oh,
See,
really?
that is additionally with the dual chamber technology that we're talking about, all those are possible, right? Some of the drugs, for example, need to be reconstituted. There's a very complicated process to reconstitute
Yeah,
these and that.
reconstitution stuff.
They are, just to give one example only, without breaking away from your flow, is dual chambers, right? Auto injectors, right? For example, it was not needed. Where would you use an auto injector? You have to use it at home or in the field, right? So those trends are coming, but not that each and every drug will gets converted into that. I'm not saying like that, but I'm saying that the trend is, if you look at old movies and all that, they already talked about the trend, but it took 25 years before it became a reality.
All
So
right.
that's how it is. Trend, people say it, but it happens over a period of time. If it happens, it happens. All of us did not want to use an iPhone. I was happy with the flip phone with the antenna being pulled out and listen to it, right?
Yeah,
But at point in time, we got iPhones. That you want to know, each and everybody carries an iPhone or iPhone, I would say, not
sure.
necessarily just iPhone.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that okay, that's a good point. Is that just because people have been calling it a trend for a while
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's not still a trend. I think
Yeah.
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Okay, that's home. What else?
Then sustainability. Pharma is becoming more and more aware of the carbon neutral goals. There are heightened sustainability goals. Each and every pharma company now has a sustainability goal. They all work on the sustainability tools that they work on. They ask you for the source of your raw material, how much weight of the different components that you are using, how much infrastructure that it consumes, things like that. So they want to reduce it, but show to market and show to the world that they are working towards carbon neutral goals.
Now that you're working with a big spread of different companies, like how consistent are the expectations?
I would say that at least out of the 14, at least the three are primarily focused on asking those questions. Yeah. How do
Okay,
we address? We made it in Credence, we made it part of our goal. So everything that we do primarily addresses, goes towards those sustainability goals, addressing those sustainability goals. We keep that in our mind all the time.
understood. Okay.
May not be possible for each and everything, but that is the primary goal of the platforms. Yeah.
So number two is sustainability.
Yeah. Number three, I would say, is injection volumes. Some of the drug products injection volumes are increasing. So it is not a 1 ml drug or 2 ml. It could be 3 ml to 5 ml. We've got some drug products in a prefilled syringe, I would say. Of course, they're large parental. I'm not, bags are already there. I'm not saying like that it does not exist. But from the injectable device, per se, they are not just microdoses that delivered in an on-board injector, but it could be large volumes up to 20 ml or 10 ml or 5 ml, things like that, right? It can go up to
In an auto
larger volume.
injector.
No, not
Not
necessarily
in
in, but I know about an auto injector, but other prefilled syringes, I would say, goes up to, maybe 10 or 15 ml delivered volume,
okay.
even more. Yeah. Some of the guys, we were in a trade show. He talked about a 50 ml. Okay, I'm not joking. There's a 50 ml also. Not sure about the drug that he was talking about, but yes, there's a 50 ml need also. Just that you are.
Huh.
Yeah.
Number four.
And then number four, I would say trend is going towards long-acting drugs, and then because it is long-acting, it requires higher concentrations and higher viscosity. Highest concentrations, yeah, will not lead to viscosities, but they do affect the viscosity. So the higher viscosities. So that is another trend that we're seeing, that injectable devices need to address the high concentrations and the higher viscosity needs, right? Then comes suspension. We just talked about a few minutes ago. Certain therapeutic areas have suspensions. Suspension is becoming more prevalent, I would say. Then comes some of these ophthalmic applications or derma applications, wherein dose accuracies are important in low volume, 5 microns, 10 microns, repetitive injections for the same patient, I would say. So dose accuracies are getting more and more for low volumes as well. So how do you deliver a 5 microliter with a 1 plus minus 1 microliter, right? First of all, a plungeon movement itself, you don't feel it. You can imagine a 5 microliter coming out of an injectable device, how much you should be putting force on.
That's
So
right.
there are some, yeah, that's a challenge. Of course, with all of these, you can imagine the injectable device. There are quite a few injectable devices. If you go to trade shows, you will find all of them providing either one answer to these different trends I've given you, or three answers to these trends I'm giving you, or more products like that, right? So it is becoming more crowded in the device market. Everybody offers one or two or three solutions. So it is required that if you want to make a big splash in the market, then you need to also provide product differentiation, right? So that it offers more patient safety, addresses sustainability goals, all in all, right? But not necessarily in one device, but depending upon the drug that requires that, you could address one or more into the same product. So which also means that you need to provide a common user experience. You cannot have altogether different experience. If, for example, if you look at a BMW, I've driven BMW since 2012, and I'm driving now. No change. I mean, in terms of my driving feel, it has kept it.
Oh,
Okay.
I remember you had a BMW, and I think you maybe got in an accident, and you got a Porsche. I know you're a car guy, and
Yeah.
I remember
Now,
you were telling me you were dropping off your. I remember you said I used to have a nice BMW. You were dropping off your son at school, and people were like, oh, he has a Porsche.
now it's a Porsche, and then I sold Porsche, and then I got Jaguar, and I sold Jaguar, and I got again back to a BMW i7 now. It's all electric.
Oh,
But
nice. Yeah.
where I'm going with all this is look at BMW, right? It's a great example. Even iPhone is a great example. The look and feel, it's the
Consistent.
same kidney glow. As they go inside, the same feel, right? Of course, the tail end, the massage seats could be different, or power could be different, but it drives the same. I don't have to look around for doing anything.
Mhm.
So you need to provide that platform approach to different users, even though it is not that a guy, or the same guy drives a 3 Series and a 5 Series and a BMW 7 Series or a X7 or an X5. I'm not saying like that, right? It's not the same person driving all of them. But if that person were to change over a period of time, he will still get the same consistent feeling.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm talking about that kind of a platform approach and a similar look and feel, same ruggedness, same goal, same feeling, and same reliability. And more important that way. So those are the trends that are, I would say, going around in the market. Maybe there are more coming up. The other trend is regulations, which I did not speak about, right? Regulations are becoming more matured. Like when we were there, you can imagine the combination product. A new rule is coming. Okay, new rule coming. Jennifer Heffley used to put that very nicely. I don't know whether you've seen that picture that she would put it. The guy has been trained to pull when he's jumping off the plane with a parachute on him. Okay, and he's just falling down, and he's been instructed to pull the green lever, okay? Green lever. But one is just dropping out. He says, by the way, we changed it. It is blue now. Pull the blue. Pull the blue, right? You know what I'm saying? He's
Yeah.
already jumped out. Okay, he's already jumped out, and you're asking him to pull the blue lever instead of a green lever. Is biggest trend. Why is important? You know what we did. You have program A, program B, program C. I'm talking about the internal trend now, wherein, okay, the regulation has changed. I'm already into phase three. I'm not phase three. I'm talking about in our
Design
verification of
stage.
our
Sure. Yeah.
program done.
Design stage.
And then later on, boom, you go back to spec, snake and ladder. Boom, you get started. Go through all of this. I don't know whether need to change the material or you need to do extra verification and validation, do additional human practice study. That's what I'm talking about in terms of regulation. It is changing for good, though. Regulations do not come for the sake of regulations. The regulations come because of additional safety to the patients or additional blah, blah, blah. Okay.
I think obviously the regulations themselves don't change that often. Right now, we're transitioning into the QMSR, but I think
Hmm.
the attitudes, the enforcement, what like what we've seen in terms of the regulatory enforcement has certainly changed in the last 10 years. Oh, we're getting questions on this now, or EPRs is a good example, and there are others for sure. What
You
about
can't just grandfather it in, right? You can't just grandfather it. Oh, we did that in the past. Oh,
well,
we did that in the past. It is different.
well, I think standards too. I know that there was one project that we were on where the standard year updated all the while, and we had to address it in the middle in flight because, anyways. So the what about challenges in industry?
So now those industry trends have created challenges for the injection delivery devices itself. Okay. So when I explain all of this, they're not necessarily one-to-one correlation to different trends,
Sure.
but then, and maybe in future, we can talk about all of those separately. Now, just imagine one of the things that I told you about, oh, now trend is towards moving medications to from a formal healthcare setting to administration of the drugs from a formal healthcare setting to home administration at home. What does that do? That itself, I would say, poses a biggest challenge because less experienced users would be at home using your device, right? You need to be talking about promote adherence to those delivery that this patient or any healthcare provider who goes to home to deliver it, or including a caregiver who delivers it. So, hospital, if you're doing it, they have a regular standard procedures. They pretty much follow those, right? They've been trained to do that.
Right.
But here, it provides a different challenges. Now, in terms of device, I would say we talked about sustainability, right? In system says, how do you really do? Oh, you need to use less number of parts. You need to use why? maybe use high quality plastics that do not contain DHP or BPA, all those different things, right? That you need to avoid all those into the material choices that you make. You need to consume less power to make that happen. You need to have less number of components in your plastic. You need to, if you reduce the number of parts, then you reduce the subassemblies, which also means that you need to be using less equipment for that matter. Right now, the other trend that I would say, other challenges would be, now you're asking the device if some of these drugs are moving home, then those drugs, for example, reconstitution is one thing that we offline talked about, which I could explain is those have to be reconstituted at home. Imagine there's such a complicated reconstitution procedures that is used in the pharmacy or at the compounding station. How would you do that at home? You have to provide a very easy solution for reconstitution at home. How do you ensure that it is reconstituted properly? What kind of cues you give? Mhm.
Where does scale up fall under the challenges list? Because I know you've seen your fair share of scale up
Yeah,
issues.
yeah. Scale up is the biggest challenge, but today, as you could imagine, many of the big pharmas are moving to CDMOs, right? So they are not able to sustain that. So they are going to CDMOs. And CDMOs are increasing. So that's the reason why, that's how they could address the scale up. They can't sustain it in themselves. Similarly, we as a company are not able to perform all the design. We have to go for just starting with the design itself. I have to go to an external design house to fulfill my need. Again, it comes back to scale up challenges when you say it is inevitable, right? You imagine how much challenges we faced in Next-Year to perform a zero label flag, zero tolerance on a label flag. It is very difficult to achieve, but you need to achieve that. So it could be a very simple label, that wraparound label that goes onto the device, but at 300 parts per minute with a zero flag, it is a challenge. So it is a challenge to prove, it is a challenge to make the machine, and it is also equally a challenge to prove that it is working consistently or the life of its product, what quality procedures you bring in. So when at Pfizer, we developed a lot of those procedures to really see how you inspect level flagging just alone, that alone. But yeah, you're right. The scale up is on the top of the list. If you really ask me, it is not a simple thing.
Laxman, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn and also reach me at credenceMedSystems.com. There's a contact us page link there that you can reach us on. Thank you.
Very